This is the Coffee Playdate podcast, and I am Dr. Olga Dengar, hospitalist, mom of 3 under 6, and a life coach for women physicians and professionals. On this podcast, I spotlight entrepreneurs and doctorpreneurs who are doing incredible things beyond traditional medicine. You'll hear the real-life stories behind their mindset shifts, the challenges they've overcome, and the practical advice that they share to support aspiring entrepreneurs on their own paths. Welcome to the Coffee Playdate podcast. I have a very special guest with me today, Candice Lazar. Welcome.
Hi, thanks, Dr. Olga. Glad to be here.
I'm happy to have you. I like to start off by asking, do you drink coffee?
I do.
How do you like your coffee?
I tend to just drink it black. Very simple. My father was in the Coast Guard, and so he drank terrible coffee that they'd make one pot of coffee. It would be the coffee that would last all day. So he would drink one cup of coffee that it might sit there for hours. It might get cold. It had nothing in it. And that's how I grew up. And I do the same. I have one coffee and I might not finish it until like 3:00 once in a while. Like I like a nice, I like a fancy coffee, like a Starbucks or something, but just at home, I'm drinking black coffee for sure.
That's really interesting. Cool. We're going to play a couple of games. The first one is called a rapid fire questions game. So I'm going to ask you to choose between one answer or the other, but you don't need to give an explanation. Guided breath work or pure silence?
Guided breath work.
Okay. Next one, breath work for stress or breath work for focus, if you had to choose.
Yeah, I know. Then like these are tough questions. Stress.
5 minutes of breath work daily or one long weekly session?
5 minutes daily.
And marketing via email or through social media?
Email.
Great. The next game is called Take a Sip. So it's the same concept, but here we both answer. And if our answers match, we take a sip from our coffee cups.
Love it.
First one is predictable paycheck or scalable coaching?
Scalable coaching.
Me too. Cheers. How about this one? Cold plunge or infrared sauna?
I don't know if I've done an infrared sauna. Does it feel just like a regular sauna?
Pretty much. Yep.
Cold plunge.
Cold plunge. Me too. Cheers. Candlelight or natural sunlight?
Candlelight.
Oh, I'd have to choose natural sunlight.
It's certainly good for setting your circadian rhythm and all that good stuff. My husband lights a lot of candles around our house in the evening. I guess I see it kind of as part of my wind down routine.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. The last question here, National Geographic exhibition or the hustle and bustle of a busy city?
These are tough questions. Can't I have both on one trip? Gosh, I guess an expedition.
Me too. I'd love to try one day. All right, perfect. So, Candice, I know a little bit about you, but can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do?
Sure. I have a background as a marketer initially. I worked with often with car companies or with advertising agencies that worked with car companies. I'm initially from Metro Detroit. So I worked in production and post production, really enjoyed that. I ended up relocating. I moved to South Florida. And when I moved, I decided to go to law school, largely for the education. I thought of it kind of as a business degree. I had a lot of members of my family went to law schools later, and I thought, this is a good idea. You'll figure out what you're doing while you're in law school. And then I thought, well, you're studying to be a lawyer. Why don't you be a lawyer and see if you actually like doing that? And I did, but I did the work, but I didn't love it. And I was already starting to kind of look for maybe some sort of, side hustle, smaller business to start. I had found an idea. It was legally adjacent that I was like, starting to research that. But then one day I was online and saw a ad for learning copywriting. And I didn't know that you could do this outside of university. I'm having an advertising degree. So I saw that. I'd always considered myself a writer. I had really loved my job before. And so I just jumped right in and learned copywriting, learned about direct response marketing. And I did that for several years. I worked with a very well-known marketer on his team, helping him plan launches for a good 5 year. I should say writing a lot of copy, helping plan his launches for a good 5 years. And then I discovered breathwork, and around the same time, I thought, 5 years is a long time. I kind of want to go off and do something different anyway. Like that, it seemed like a good period. And then I thought, I like breath work, and here's the thing that you can share with people. So when I stopped working with that client, I still did marketing, but I also started learning breath work, getting certified as a coach, and working with people in that way as well. So I do both.
Wow, what a journey. I mean, you've put in all of this hard work to become a lawyer. You have the background in marketing. How do you think those skills transferred into becoming an entrepreneur for you?
They're both really helpful, but almost a liability, in a way. It's like I used to watch, and I can do it now, but I used to hate to have to sit through like a credit roll because I knew how it was made. I knew all the production stuff. I felt like a lot of the magic and things just weren't there. And now I don't feel that way. It's been long enough. But I can watch a credit roll. I don't usually watch it anyway because you can stop a TV sooner. But I feel like in a lot of ways, like knowing the secret sauce removes in some ways the magic of something, but it's very good for business. It's better for my business because they're going to treat me a little bit differently as a lawyer, I think, than they might otherwise. They're more respectful of my terms and my contracts. They're more just the other party having that knowledge is positive for my business as well as me having the knowledge itself. Marketing skills, as a separate thing, everyone needs to be a marketer, right? I mean, your kid needs to be a marketer in order to promote what they want for dinner if they want their way. So no matter what, any business owner, I think, can benefit from having those skills.
Yeah. And it's such a unique kind of asset or unique skills that you have. Now, has there been a mindset shift that you needed to make as you were starting your own business in breathwork coaching?
Truthfully, I thought it would be a little bit easier than it was. And so I had to start to adjust my expectations a little bit as far as, time and what things look like. And am I sat down a lot, thought about it. Like, am I justifying this or is this a rational explanation? Kind of just really consciously making some shifts in how I viewed things. I will say, a lot of the entrepreneurial dream, like people who say, you find what you do and you love it, you'll never work a day in your life. I don't think that's true at all. I think that everyone works some days. I think whoever in the world that you could possibly want to have, if you think their life is just amazing, like I don't know, my husband would say Tom Brady or whomever. Like Tom Brady definitely wakes up some days not wanting to have the day he's going to have. And that's how life is. And that's not going to be different just because you own your business.
Yeah, no, that's true. But as long as overall you feel like you're following your passion and the work that you are doing is fulfilling, I think that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just being realistic about it and, not thinking that every day is just going to be puppies and rainbows.
Yeah, it's true. Now, speaking of some challenges, has there been a specific challenge that you had to overcome?
I mean, most of them, they're probably self-driven. I spent a lot of my early years as a copywriter really avoiding telling people that I was an attorney. I wanted very separate. I didn't want them to think I was doing any law work. They're self-driven. I really wanted to separate my having been a lawyer with being a copywriter. And I also don't want like legal liability. I don't want people to think I'm working with them at all in a way where I'm giving legal advice. So I really largely tried to hide the fact that I was an attorney. Like I didn't promote it anywhere. And I think that, in some ways that made my life a lot harder than it would have been if I was just more open about it and telling your story really and how it all logically flows, period. It's always easier, I think, to tell your story than not and to be authentic. So I think that, throughout the years I've made stuff harder on myself than I need to be sometimes. It is a thing that I'm constantly trying to overcome. Having law school, I mean, med school too, I'm sure, like it brainwashes you a bit, and it's sometimes hard to like pull yourself out of certain ways of thinking. And it's always happening. Just always
Yeah.
working on it.
And it's hard to separate those two identities because they are part of your past, and if you are to stay authentic and true to yourself, Like you said, sharing your story is probably the best way to do it, but it is a tough thing to do. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it depends on the person, right? Some people are just natural born performers and they love the audience, they love the attention, and other people just want to help people. They want to have a business on their own terms and a really good life, but don't necessarily want to be like that guru type of person. I think a lot of people think that you can't be both. Like that if you're going to have a business, you have to be that like flamboyant, you know, uh
Personality.
and seeking, right? Like, well, yeah, of course you're going to be the spokesperson and a guru in this event, and sometimes you're just like, no, I have this thing that I think is cool that I want to share with people.
And I mean, even in business, there are lots of different people. There are the extroverts, there are introverts, and both can be very successful in different ways. So it's all about finding kind of your way, I think. Mhm.
Yep. Yeah, I remember reading an email recently from someone that was saying how she had been at this event and watching the speaker on stage, and she knows this person's business model pretty well, and she makes like half her income for the year from this one event. It's over 3 days. She spends half the year planning it, and it's like all just a very concentrated thing, and she says, gosh, I just could never do that for my business. And the speaker who she's talking to about it, she says, well, I know your business. I know how you show up in your business. You're there every single week. You publish every week. You have a video, this, that. She goes, I could never do that. Right. So it's a matter of exactly what works for you, what style, what media, what frequency, what format. It's gonna be different for everybody. So
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also like your belief system too. Like, what is your vision for your business and what are the things that you want accomplished? What are your outcomes? Everybody's business model is different and they want different things. So if you're more of a visionary, then you should play more of that role. But if you're more of the operational person in your business, then maybe that is a role that suits you better. So it depends.
yeah, integrators, that more kind of operational type of role is, I think over the past decade, I think it was like the EOS languaging that made that popular. But it's been good to see how that role has gotten recognized as being really important because businesses can't function without operations. But when we plan things, sometimes we just forget that, we're making stuff and thinking about it and just assuming it will exist without thinking about how it will actually come to fruition.
Exactly. That's very well said. I love that.
Thanks.
Now, I do want to ask you there is this thing called the 95-5 rule by Will Guidara. He's an author of the book Unreasonable Hospitality. And what he describes there is if you are able to create this magical experience, this unforgettable moment for someone in your life, whether it's a loved one or whether it's professionally, your team, for example, was there a moment like that in your life that you were able to create without kind of breaking the bank? So, focusing on giving up that 5% of the budget to create this really amazing experience while efficiently budgeting the other 95%.
Hmm. That is a great question and a tough call because I had two completely different things go through my mind that I think neither of them quite answers the question. Because I used to throw parties every week years ago in my first marketing job, and budget wasn't really a concern, but it was always just very, the level of detail. Like every Friday, we would have kind of a themed lunch. Thinking about something as far as with a friend, I haven't ever done something in my personal life that I'm like, I'm just going to take you for this thing and blow your mind. I will say I impacted a friend of mine not too long ago in a way that I was surprised by and wouldn't have expected. And so I guess it kind of helps, reset your thoughts on like what's meaningful to people. Because I had a friend, actually a business friend visiting here. She had a competition here in Miami a couple of years ago on Memorial Day weekend. And she said, I'm going to be in town. I don't know if you're around, but I'm going to be there a little early and I don't have that much to do if you're available. And I said, actually, yeah. And I went down to South Beach and I picked her up and took her to dinner and dropped her back off at her hotel and I came home. And to me, aside from the fact that I got to see her, I don't really see her very often. She lives in a different part of the country. But aside from that, to me, that was like a normal Friday night dinner. to her, she's like, it meant so much to me that you came down through traffic and I was so lonely that weekend and I didn't have anyone else to hang out with and you took me out and it was sober. So, to me, it was no big deal. To her, it meant the world. And that felt really good. But that also still doesn't quite answer your question. Like, it's no big thing for me. But yeah, it's nice to feel so appreciated, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's really special. I love that because you had a completely different expectation. And then she perceived the entire situation as like a very appreciative, grateful, like a very special experience for her. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah,
It's the small moments like that that really count. It doesn't have to be like a big major event or experience. It's really those small connections that you make with your friends or keep up with your friends that can make a world of a difference to them.
definitely. Was it Eleanor Roosevelt? I can't remember who it is that said, people won't remember what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Yes, exactly. So I wanted to ask another question here. What is a piece of advice that you would give to someone starting out in a similar field as you?
Be patient. Give yourself grace. It takes a lot of time to figure it out. Everyone has their own path. I would say do as much learning and doing in tandem. So do your research because you don't want to be creating things that people don't want or don't need. But don't spend so much time researching, like research, create, research, iterate. Keep that going because if not, then it's very easy to get stalled in just research mode, learning mode, one more thing mode before you end up really getting started. And it ends up taking just a lot of energy out of you and it's not the way you want to feel starting your business. So I would say jump in and start learning and start doing with what you learn right away. And just know that it's hard work. It's a lot harder than it looks from marketing, from what you see people present out in the world, but it can also be very rewarding.
Yeah. Oh, I love that advice. That's great. And I'd like to ask for a book recommendation that you have for our listeners today.
Ah, there are so many amazing books. I'm just going to tell you the one I'm reading right now because I'm very happy with it. And it's by Nir Ayal and it's called Beyond Belief. And he also wrote a book a bit ago called Indistractable and Hooked. So you might have heard of some of his other work. But Beyond Belief it's a really interesting book about how beliefs change our brains and how changing what you believe can change things. There's actually some really interesting medical stuff in it. Like he explains why placebos work and the changes that occur in your brain due to placebos and things like that. Right now, towards the end of the book, he's talking about a guy that had an extremely rare medical condition that no one could resolve and how the guy ended up resolving it himself. And I'm not sure where the belief part comes into this particular story, but there's a lot of evidence in it. And I like his work. I've read those other books by him and this one's very good too. So Beyond Belief, it's probably about a month old,
Oh, so it's brand new. Wow.
brand new. Yeah.
I have to read it then. And Candice, if our listeners want to find out more about your work, where can they find you?
Probably my name homepage is easiest because if you go to CandiceLazar.com, then from there you can connect to some of my marketing work or you can connect to my breath work.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Candice. It was a pleasure having you on the Coffee Platy
Thank
podcast,
you.
and I hope to have you on a future episode.
I would love that. This was great.
Thanks for tuning in to the Coffee Playdate podcast. This episode is designed to help you stay driven, aligned, build momentum, and take action on your entrepreneurial journey. That's my Dhamma method in motion. If you enjoyed this conversation, hit subscribe and share it with one other person who you think would benefit from it. And when you're ready to live life on your own terms, book a discovery call at coacholgamd.com to see if one-on-one coaching with my Dhamma method is your next move.